early 1920s, railway lines were being laid across parts of British India. During this process, workers unearthed a vast quantity of baked bricks that appeared distinct from any modern construction in the vicinity. Initially, these bricks were used as ballast for the railway tracks, but it soon became evident that they were far from ordinary. Eventually, the archaeological department took notice of these sites, and excavations began. What was revealed completely transformed our understanding of history. Buried beneath the soil lay a meticulously planned city, featuring straight, intersecting streets, houses constructed from uniform baked bricks, and systems for water supply and drainage in every home. Most astonishing of all was the citywide, well-planned drainage network, which appeared far more advanced than that of any other contemporary civilization. This was not merely a single city, but part of an entire civilization, one that thousands of years ago ranked among the most advanced urban societies of its time. Yet, this discovery brought with it a question that remains unanswered to this day. How did a civilization characterized by such sophisticated systems, stable structures, and vast geographical reach simply vanish? There were no traces of major warfare or evidence of imperial collapse. Even their written script remains undeciphered. It was as if the civilization quietly faded from history without a sound, a fact that renders it one of history's greatest enigmas. In 1921, archaeologist Dayaram Sani began excavations at Harappa, a site located in the Punjab region. Initially, it appeared to be merely the discovery of an ancient settlement. However, as the excavation progressed, the complexity and systematic nature of the structures suggested that this was no ordinary settlement. The very next year, in 1922, Rakal Das Banerjee identified another site, Mohenjo-Daro, in the Sindh region. Excavations there further underscored the significance of the discovery. Strikingly similar urban structures were revealed at two distinct locations. This could not have been a mere coincidence. John Marshall, the then Director General of the Archaeological Survey, analyzed these findings and officially announced in 1924 the existence of an ancient and highly developed urban civilization in the Indian subcontinent, one that dated back thousands of years. The significance of this announcement was immense. Until then, discussions regarding ancient civilizations in world history had been largely confined to Egypt and Mesopotamia. This discovery, however, established that a civilization of equal antiquity and sophistication had flourished in the Indian subcontinent as well. And this was only the beginning. In the years that followed, hundreds of other sites associated with this civilization were discovered, proving that it was not an isolated development, but rather a vast and organized cultural system. To understand the Indus civilization, it was essential to comprehend its geographical foundation. Known today as the Indus Valley Civilization, it was centered around the Indus River and its vast associated river network. Originating in the Himalayas and flowing through northwestern India and Pakistan, the Indus River served as the civilization's lifeline. Its tributaries, the Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej, also played a crucial role. The cities situated along these rivers flourished not merely due to the availability of water. The fertile soil deposited by the rivers made agriculture possible. Additionally, there is mention of another significant river system, the Ghaggar-Hakra, which some scholars associate with the ancient Saraswati River. Although research on this subject is ongoing, it is evident that an active river system once existed in this region, fostering the development of numerous settlements along its banks. Over time, the flow of these rivers changed. Some dried up, while others altered their courses. These shifts may well have been a primary factor in the civilization's eventual decline. The civilization was inextricably linked to these rivers, and as the rivers changed, so did the course of history. As new sites were discovered, it became clear that this was not a system limited to just one or two cities. The Indus Valley Civilization is believed to have begun its development around 3300 BCE. The period between 2600 BCE and 1900 BCE marked its mature phase, a time when its cities were at their most organized and advanced state. After 1900 BCE, the civilization began to undergo gradual changes, and by 1300 BCE, its urban structure had largely vanished. However, the most significant aspect was not its timeline, but its vast geographical extent. To date, over 1,000 sites associated with this civilization have been discovered. These sites were not confined to a single region, but spanned from northwestern India across to Pakistan and beyond. Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro, Dholavira, Lothal, and Kalibangan are just a few of the prominent names. Alongside these, hundreds of smaller towns and villages were also part of this network. The total area covered by the civilization was so vast that it is often described as exceeding the combined territory of the Egyptian and Mesopotamian civilizations. This indicates an interconnected system where distinct cities were linked by shared standards and structural characteristics. A stable and adequate food supply was essential to sustain such a vast urban structure. The foundation of the Indus Valley Civilization rested on agriculture. Crops such as wheat, barley, and others were cultivated here. Situated along riverbanks, these regions possessed fertile soil that was further enriched by annual floods. Although direct evidence of irrigation systems is limited, available indications suggest that the people understood water flow and seasonal patterns, farming accordingly. A crucial aspect was surplus production. Output was sufficient to meet not only the needs of the farmers, but also those of the artisans, traders, and other urban inhabitants. Large storage facilities were constructed to preserve this surplus. Certain structures discovered at Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro are viewed in this context, although there is no complete consensus regarding their specific function. Nevertheless, it is evident that urban life on such a massive scale would not have been possible without a robust agricultural system. The most striking feature of the Indus Valley Civilization was its urban planning. The cities did not expand organically. Instead, they were established according to a well-conceived plan. Streets were straight and intersected at approximately right angles, creating a grid pattern. While this layout is common in modern cities, it was highly unusual for that era. Houses were built of uniformly sized baked bricks. The shape of these bricks was almost universally consistent, indicating standardization in construction. Most houses had a courtyard, and many even had private bathing areas. But most remarkable was that these houses were designed so that their water flowed directly into the drainage system along the streets. This wasn't just a convenience, it was a fully planned urban design. If one were to single out the most advanced feature of this civilization, it would be its water management system. The Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro is a prime example. It was a large water tank designed with a complete system for filling and draining water. The rooms and stairs surrounding it indicate that it was used for a specific purpose. Furthermore, private wells have been found in many houses, indicating that water availability was ensured at the individual level. The huge wells found at Dholavira reservoirs and rainwater harvesting structures demonstrate that people not only used water, but also conserved it. The most impressive aspect was the drainage system. City drains were covered and designed to allow wastewater to drain freely. This system wasn't limited to large public areas, but extended down to the household level. No other civilization of the time had such a level of sanitation planning. The Indus Valley Civilization was not solely an agricultural society. Its cities possessed a well-organized and developed artisanal network, providing a strong economic base. Evidence of specialized workshops has been found at many sites. Bead-making activities were widespread at sites like Mohenjo-Daro. These beads were made from stone, shells, and semi-precious stones, and their quality and uniformity indicate that the work was done by skilled artisans. Pottery was also produced in a uniform style and design, indicating standardization in production. There is also clear evidence of the use of metal. Tools, weapons, and other objects made of copper and bronze indicate a developed understanding of metalworking. In addition, a variety of objects were made using ivory, shells, and other natural resources. This was not solely for local consumption. This production was part of a larger economic network that connected cities and made them interdependent. Behind the structures of these cities, a common life also existed. People lived in houses with courtyards, rooms, and sometimes private bathing areas. This arrangement indicates that personal hygiene and living comfort were valued. Food consisted primarily of wheat and barley, with some pulses and other crops also part of their diet. In terms of clothing, there is evidence of the use of cotton, which is considered one of the earliest examples in the world. Jewelry was also widespread. Both men and women wore a variety of ornaments, such as bead necklaces, bracelets, and rings. Toys were also made for children, including miniature clay carts, animal figures, and games like dice. All this shows that this was not just a survival society. It was a society that lived in organized, cultural, and social.
In such a developed civilization, one question repeatedly arises: was there a king here? Excavations to date have uncovered no grand palaces, statues, or tombs of major rulers, as seen in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Instead, cities exhibit a certain uniformity. Although some houses are large, they lack the grandeur that would clearly indicate a ruling class. This raises the possibility that this society may have operated under an organized administrative structure rather than a centralized monarchy. Some scholars believe that decisions may have been made collectively, or that an administrative structure was based on a system rather than individual authority. While there is not complete consensus on this issue, this much is clear: this civilization was different from other civilizations of its time. The economic system of the Indus Valley Civilization was not limited to the local level. It was part of a widespread trade network. A uniform system of weights and measures was used, ensuring uniformity in transactions. Stone vessels, small weights made to the same standard, have been found at different sites. Seals, small pieces of stone engraved with symbols and figures, served as a means of identification and control in trade. Most importantly, this civilization had contacts with Mesopotamia. Ancient inscriptions there mention the name Meluha, which many historians associate with the Indus Valley Civilization. Structures found at sites like Lothal are seen as ancient dockyards, indicating that maritime trade was also carried out. This meant that this civilization was not merely self-sufficient, it was an active part of a global trade network. The most interesting aspect of the Indus Valley Civilization is that we don't know about it from any written religious texts. Whatever we understand is based on the objects and symbols found in excavations. Sculptures of female figures have been found at several sites, which some scholars associate with the mother goddess. This interpretation is based on the belief that these figures depict symbols related to fertility and nature. Furthermore, a famous seal, called the Pashupati seal, depicts a figure seated in a yogic posture surrounded by animals. Some associate this figure with an early form of Shiva from a later period, but there is no complete consensus on this. Fire-related structures have also been found at sites like Kalibangan, which some researchers link to fire worship. Based on this, it is clear that this society valued nature, fertility, and possibly various forms of energy. However, without written evidence, the full picture remains incomplete. The greatest mystery of the Indus Valley Civilization is its script. Thousands of seals, pottery, and other objects are engraved with tiny symbols. The number of these symbols is estimated to be between 400 and 600. However, the problem is that this script has remained undeciphered to this day. The writings are also very short, typically 5 to 10 symbols. This complicates the process further, as long sentences or paragraphs are not available to decipher the language. Many attempts have been made. Some have tried to link it to the Dravidian language family, while others have considered it a completely distinct system. But no single interpretation has been universally accepted. This means that we can see this civilization and understand its structures, but its sound remains elusive. When we speak of ancient civilizations, stories of war, conquest, and destruction are often associated with them. However, the Indus Valley Civilization appears different in this regard. Excavations conducted so far have yielded no clear evidence of large-scale warfare or widespread destruction. No layers have been found within the cities to indicate that they were destroyed during a major invasion. Although injury marks have been found on some skeletons, suggesting that violence may have occurred at an individual level, and structures resembling defensive walls have been discovered in certain cities, which some scholars interpret as fortifications, it remains evident that this civilization was less conflict-driven compared to its contemporaries. This is precisely what makes it so intriguing. The period between approximately 2600 BCE and 1900 BCE marked the golden age of the Indus Valley Civilization. During this time, its cities were at their most organized state. Streets were well-planned, construction was standardized, trade flourished, and water management systems operated effectively. A striking uniformity was visible across various cities, suggesting they had all been developed according to a shared master plan. It was an era of functional systems, equilibrium, and stability. Yet in history, such balance often heralds impending change, and a similar transformation befell this civilization. Around 1900 BCE, gradual changes began to emerge. The uniformity in urban layout started to diminish, and the use of standardized bricks in construction declined. In some locations, drainage systems fell into disrepair, signaling that the previous level of civic organization was no longer being maintained. Many major urban centers, such as Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, were gradually abandoned. This was not a sudden event, but a slow transformation. The cities lost their luster, and their significance waned. Some settlements were completely deserted, while others persisted on a much smaller scale. This was a phase where a vast urban civilization began to lose its original character.
Several theories have been proposed to understand the reasons behind this decline. The first theory concerns climate change. Some research indicates a decrease in monsoon intensity in the region, which impacted agriculture and caused water sources to dwindle. A second significant factor was the alteration of river systems. The Ghaggar-Hakra River, which some scholars identify with the Saraswati, gradually dried up or shifted its course, directly affecting settlements that relied on these rivers. A third theory relates to geological activity. Earthquakes or other tectonic shifts in certain areas could have altered river courses, thereby impacting the entire ecosystem. Economic factors may also have played a role. There are indications of a decline in trade with Mesopotamia, which weakened external economic ties. Considering these theories, one thing becomes clear: the decline was not caused by a single factor. Most modern historians and archaeologists believe that the collapse of the Indus Valley Civilization was a gradual process. Climate change, shifting river courses, and the weakening of economic networks all combined to impact the civilization. As major cities became less suitable for habitation, people began migrating to smaller villages and settlements. This represented a form of ruralization. Urban life gradually faded, yet the people and their traditions did not vanish entirely. This implies that the civilization did not cease to exist, rather it was transforming. Although the great cities disappeared, certain elements of the civilization endured. Agricultural practices, specific craftsmanship techniques, and possibly some cultural traditions were passed down to future generations. Some scholars also believe that traces of the Indus Valley influence are visible in later Indian civilizations, although there is no complete consensus on this matter. It is evident that no civilization in history vanishes completely. Each leaves something of itself behind. Discoveries made in the 20th century brought this civilization back into the global spotlight.
New technologies such as carbon dating and advanced excavation methods helped us understand its timeline and structure. Today, several of its key sites such as Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, Dholavira, and Lothal are preserved as World Heritage Sites. Research at these locations continues, and every new discovery deepens our understanding of this civilization. While the end of many civilizations in history is linked to war, invasion, or catastrophe, no such clear-cut ending is evident for the Indus Valley Civilization. There was no final battle, no decisive event, and no written record. Only a gradual transformation that ultimately brought an entire urban system to an end. Perhaps this is its most defining characteristic. The civilization did not simply vanish. It quietly faded into history. The Indus Valley Civilization tells us more than just a story of the past. It demonstrates that no matter how advanced a society may be, if its balance relies on natural and social factors, even minor changes can lead to profound consequences. The standards achieved by this civilization in urban planning, water management, and resource utilization remain inspiring to this day. Yet the story of its decline serves as a warning that stability is not always permanent. Perhaps that is why the Indus Valley Civilization remains not merely a chapter in history, but an unsolved enigma. If you wish to explore more such unsolved mysteries, be sure to subscribe to the channel.